helped? Um,
I joked constantly while I was still active duty because people would ask me what traits you would need to be good at the job I had. So, doing counterintelligence and human intelligence, I would tell everybody you have to be a high functioning sociopath. And I was only slightly joking. And just because you have to be able to do things like manipulate, lie convincingly, be sincere and convincing even when you're not, and you have to be able to do it without getting bogged down in your own morals and ethics. You got to be able to kind of turn off what makes you you and become other people. So, I mean, you could look at it as method acting. That's probably a less scarier way of putting it. But with the real world implications, you either know what you're doing or you don't. And that's something we always said. If you're going to get inside somebody's head and mess around, you better know what you're doing. And so years
tell my
of
wife that all the time. She still doesn't listen.
it's like, well, after years of, dealing with like no kidding sociopaths, psychopaths, like people who would rather see me dead than anything else, you do get a feel for how somebody who is truly demented ticks. And, it helps in daily life. I mean, hell, it works with my kids. I can kind of figure out what they're thinking before they even try. I know they're going to lie to me, and it's just kind of like having a detainee. I assume you're going to lie to me, and I can kind of figure things out from there. But I think inadvertently it gave me a master class in
Yeah.
understanding motivations and how people in the human mind work.
And so at some point after that, you decide I want to be an author and you start writing. What led? Was it just like I have these stories, I need to tell them, or
Like I said, I was still active duty when I started the first book, and I'd fiddled with writing forever, but it never really took. And it really wasn't until I stopped fighting the stories and just let the story happen. It's probably why I gravitate towards being a pantser so much, is because if I let the story just surprise me and let my characters be the characters,
Hmm,
I enjoy it so much more, because then it's like reading a book. I mean,
right?
or I'm living it right in the moment. And I started doing that on one of my deployments. I was a little bit older than everybody else, and you get to the point where you just don't like doing all the young kid stuff anymore. And, so I would take my laptop to a coffee shop and hang out. And eventually, one page turned into a chapter, and two chapters, three chapters, and so on and so forth. And then one day I'm hitting the end and going, okay,
Oh,
well, that just happened. Now what do I do
now
with this
what?
thing? So, and I figured, what the hell? I'll give this publishing thing a try. And I do what most nerds do. I went out and got a book on publishing and started doing my homework and just kind of threw my hat in the ring. I really didn't expect it to go anywhere. And then I get a call from an agent like, hey, this is great. I would love to represent you. I'm like I scream like 5 octaves above, like normal hearing range. Dogs are whistling or barking and like glasses shattering. And I still have that voicemail, by the way. And then I start kind of down the path of what would have been traditional publishing. But then I deployed. And
Hmm.
like as I'm gone, I'm on deployment. I'm not really thinking about it anymore. My agent's still sending me like updates like, hey, here's a rejection from this person, from this person. Like any feedback was great. But
Like, oh, I appreciate that.
I do, but I was doing other things. So I kind of just,
Try not to die.
it's like I just kind of didn't think about it. But then I was noticing everybody had an e-reader, like whether it was the Nook or a Kindle or something. Nobody was really carrying around books anymore. Like, I don't know
Hmm.
if you did this, but I used to pack tons of books to take with me on deployment. And,
Didn't to do much reading while I was on deployment.
I was like, fair enough. I was like, I never slept, so reading would help, but um nobody did that anymore. It was all on the e-readers, which is so much nicer because you could have so many more books and so
Hmm.
much less space. And then I started looking around like, well, I could do this right now. I could self-publish and get onto a Kindle and just be done with this. And so I reached back out to my agent, and he has his own little company that he helps authors, launch their books. So I just went with him, and I've been indie ever since. Until Silverback, and now I'm trying to work with other people again, and it's been a unique experience. But I have to say, I kind of like having somebody else in my corner other than just me going, hey, look, there's a cool book coming. um but yeah, that's how it worked. Is once I got started with it, I really found I liked it. It was like as nerve-wracking as it was to be published, like the first day my link went live, my stomach, like it fell out. I felt like just kind of this anxious, terrified, excited feeling all at the same time, just because I was like, oh, this is real. This just happened.
Yeah,
Um,
forever
my work
real.
my work is out there forever, and it was kind of one of those. Oh, I hope people like it.
Right.
um, but then I kept going with it, and it's been a blast. And now I don't think I could stop. It's become therapy in a lot of regards.
I feel that. So we were talking earlier about something. I don't remember who the interview was with, but about why you changed your name on books.
Ah, yeah.
And so I was curious because what I kind of heard, or the short and sweet, was that you're a woman writing in a man's military thriller genre, or whatever the hell that
Hmm.
means. And so you changed your name because you thought the name would give you credibility over what you've done in real life, which means you should be writing in this. Um, and so if you actually look at what got me thinking was like, if you look at books that are selling now, it's more
Hmm.
books written by women that are, you know, psychological thrillers like what you just wrote. And so I was just kind of trying to frame this. You went from a military background to writing military thrillers. You changed your name and now you're writing psychological thrillers. So what tell me about that journey.
So when I initially made the decision to use my initials, so I mean it's still my name. It's just I kind of
Yeah,
obfuscate
sorry, you
the
didn't
fact.
legally change it,
Now,
just
it's just, kind of masking the fact that I am a female author, because going into the thriller genre, it is male dominated. And at the time, I was very concerned that somebody would look at my books and go, a chick wrote that it can't be all that good. And uh, valid or
what
not,
time frame was this?
so that this was from the beginning. So this, when I published the first book was in 2019.
Okay.
Um, and, I know that other authors in the thriller verse and a lot of thriller fans do not feel that way. But given the world I was in, I guess I was just more hyper aware of the fact that, when you stuck out as a female, that chances are things did not go well. And let me quantify that a little bit for you. Is like even today, I still get like reviews and things that says he in them. And generally it goes one of two ways. Like this guy obviously knows what he's talking about, been there, done that, or he's never obviously been there type of thing. But everybody automatically assumes I'm a man. And then at BoucherCon, what is it? Just a few, like last weekend, I'm losing track of time. But at
You
BoucherCon,
got kids, it's
yeah,
okay.
they all run together. It's a day that ends in Y. I was sitting in one of the panels, and it was about military thrillers, and listening to the fantastic lineup there, completely enthralled. But they were all men, and one of the ladies in the audience actually asked the question, like, well, why don't women write military thrillers? And I was taken aback, and so were the panel members, so much so that like Brad Thor and Andrews and Brian Andrews were there, like there's one right there. And so I stood up and I had to introduce myself, but that is still a very, very real, whether you call it stereotype or just preconceived notion, that if people are writing in this genre, chances are they're going to be male. And there's still tons of people who have a hard time with a woman being a veteran. I still go
Hmm.
places, and people, I'll go and say, hey, yeah, do you do like veterans benefits or veteran a discount? And they're like, oh, did your husband serve? Or they'll ask me, it's like, oh, did
You're
your
like, no,
husband serve?
bitch, I served.
I was like, well, yeah, he did, but so did I.
Oh yeah, I forgot
So
he was also in.
yeah, but it still happens. Like when I was active duty, it happened to me all the time. And now that I'm out and old and gray, I think it's even harder for people to to contextualize that. Yes, I was in the military. Yes, I write things that aren't romances. Like, yes, I like to blow shit up just like everybody else. And it seems strange to say it, but it is a factor. And right, wrong, or indifferent, when I made the decision to just use my initials, I was keeping that in mind. I did not want to alienate potential readers because of my gender.
And so I asked that question partially as a writer, but also as a parent, because like I have a
Mhm.
7-year-old son and I have a 3-year-old daughter, and my writing has changed a lot more since my daughter was born because there aren't a lot of female heroes in these books. And like, and
Mhm.
I've always, in every book I've ever written, I've always avoided the female femme fatale trope. I think it's lazy. I think, and I've always tried to have women that, can kick ass along with the dudes because that's real life. And, I don't read reviews, but back in the day, you go on Amazon and they're like, blah, blah, blah. That woman would never do that. And you're like, okay, because you were probably there, right? Like I've
Mhm.
seen it anyway. Um, However, now that, so when I wrote The Guardian, it was kind of like in the middle of this, I don't know if you'd call it the Me Too generation, or I don't know what you would, that really weird time. But I had a female editor who had a problem with me describing the female protagonist at, as having raven hair, and the way it said she was like attractive and whatever. And so this was the same way I've written every other female before that, but all of a sudden we got a problem with it. And I'm like, this is really weird. Uh, I say like fuck 300 times in the book and I kill 200,000 human beings. But the only problem you have is that I say she has raven hair and that I describe her as pretty. This is bizarre. Um, like I'm trying to create like a character my daughter could look at, to emulate, and you're
Mhm.
like, can't have raven hair. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let me change it. She has black hair. And somehow that sexualized her less. And so I guess my question would be, do you believe? I mean, that's what she said. Raven
No,
hair
no.
sexualizes women. I'm like, I didn't know that. I'm sorry, good to
It's
know.
like I have to ask her, well, what does gray hair mean? Like,
I don't know. So that's why my last book, there's only
oh,
one woman and she gets killed and you never meet her because I was like, say I'm sexist now. But anyway, that's a true story. Anyway, my question would be, do you think that, because I kind of look at you as like, this a torchbearer, you are writing as a woman in a male dominated genre, but a genre that's also very like dusty. I'm not, what's the word? It's like very, it's like everybody's like, you're in the army, you're in the navy, you're
mhm.
some type of special operations. We're all going to tell the same damn stories because
Yep,
there's only 7 plots. And
yep.
it's like, I feel like as a reader, I'm always looking for this breath of fresh air. Um, what are your thoughts on any of that?
No, I get what you're saying. And I don't take any of this personally. And I maybe I should, but I don't. I'm so used to just kind of being there and being the gray man.
Gray Woman.
Not. Yeah, I was gonna say not court
I
gentry
was
because
literally about to
that
say
would
the
be
Gray Man
really
before you
cool.
said it. Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it feels stagnant to us just because we gravitated to those stories for a reason. We like those stories. We grew up with those stories. Readers want to hear more versions of the stories that they love. And so that's why I think we find ourselves pigeonholed almost into